Hello everybody, my name is the Soy Surfer, and welcome to my video on the story and power scaling of the legendary George Droyd. And yes, you read the title correctly. In this video, I will be telling you how and why George Droyd is a multiversal threat. Maybe he beats, I don't know, like Dante from Devil May Cry? Yeah, you know what? We're gonna prove that in this video today. But before we begin, I'd just like to say a few things. The original George Droyd social medias on platforms like YouTube, Instagram, and X have sadly been taken down. I will instead be using these alternative sources that I found that you will be seeing on screen right now. Rest in power, original George Droyd account. Anyway, I'd just like to say that if this video gets 100 likes and 10 comments, or I get 100 subs to my channel, I'll do a Kirkinator power scaling video. That's right, a Kirkinator power scaling video. Subbing is free, by the way, because I'm not
Brazilian.
By the way, sorry for the long ass intro. Let's actually get to the video topic. Maniglio Baglio.
I want fried chicken, I want veg. I'm George Floyd, I can breathe, man. I can breathe, man.
Starting off with George Droyd's strength.
Droyd said before the fight that he is breathing better than ever. Chauvin Jr. not looking good. Holy shit! George Droyd just knocked Chauvin Jr. the fuck out!
That's right. You saw that correctly. Big Droyd was able to knock out Derek Michael Chauvin Jr., something that George Floyd failed to do. This means that George Droyd should upscale any feats performed by base form Big Floyd. This would include feats like George being able to overpower a fully grown man, squeezing him so tightly that he couldn't breathe. How original. Anyway, we've completely ran out of Floyd feats relating to strength, so let's just move on to Droyd himself. Showcasing a huge step up from his previously shown feats, Droyd casually sent a bus flying with a casual kick, with said bus weighing around 12 to 15 tons. The video clip also proves that Droyd is superior in strength to Floyd, depicting the transition of Floyd to Droyd as a massive glow-up. This confirms what I said earlier about Droyd rightfully upscaling Floyd, which means what I said earlier isn't just baseless headcanon, but the truth. This isn't a Jason versus Uber Jason type of situation here, where both characters scale relative to each other. Now that I think about it, Jason and Floyd kind of fell into a somewhat similar predicament. Perhaps an Uber Jason versus George Droyd video will be a future video on this channel. Anyway, back to George's strength feats. George Droyd is actually capable of lifting the blocks that built the pyramids, which weigh on average 2.5 tons, which doesn't sound as impressive as the bus kick until you realize that some of these blocks can weigh up to 70 to 80 tons. Now, it is hard to really tell if he's lifting the 2.5 ton blocks or the 70 to 80 ton blocks. Judging by how casually he lifts the blocks in the clip though, using one hand to lift them, I'd say Droyd should be very capable of lifting the heavier blocks. I could overall, at his maximum, see him lifting up to 140 to 160 tons if he used both hands. Now then, that's all the strength feats we really have for Droyd. Thus concludes this category.
I want fried chicken, I want veg. I'm George Floyd, I can breathe, man. I can breathe, man.
Alright, the first speed feat will be based on George's travel speed. George Droyd was stated by Bill Gates to have the ability to transform into a Dodge Charger Hellcat, which means George's travel speed can get up to as high as 329 to 332 kilometers per hour, or for my American viewers, 196 to 199 miles per hour. Thank you, Elon Musk, for making sure that Operation Syrup Sandwich was a great success by diverting Tesla's resources for the cause and making sure that There is no escape from Droid.
Now then, for another travel speed-based feat, George Droyd was able to travel from the surface of the United States of America, or possibly Israel, to Squidward Tentacle's home, because Squidward tried to steal from Droid's cryptocurrency, George Droyd token. This is extremely impressive, as Squidward's home is located in Bikini Bottom, which is confirmed to be in Bikini Atoll. George Droyd made it there in about 6 seconds. According to my calculations, depending on if you believe George Droyd flew from a Goycorp facility in Seattle or Israel, his speed can range from 3,800 times the speed of sound to 6,330 times the speed of sound. You'd think Droid's naturally denser bones would mean he wouldn't be able to swim that fast, because of all the metal implants in his bones, of course. Anyway, moving on to reaction speed-based feats.
When I tried to shoot Trump in the head, I had no idea that fucking George Droyd was going to stop the bullet. Hats off to Bill and Elon.
The first reaction speed-based feat would be George Droyd saving Donald Trump on the 13th of July 2024 in Boulter, Pennsylvania, from a sniper that was hired by Joe Biden to assassinate him. Droyd did this by flying in front of the bullet that was about to hit Donald Trump, and then use his laser vision to incinerate the bullet. The assassin used the AR-15 rifle, which can fire bullets at 857.5 meters per second to as high as 1,029 meters per second, which is 2.5 to 3 times the speed of sound. Now, this speed feat can become significantly more impressive when you take into account the fact that Droid was moving so fast that a bullet moving faster than sound seemed like it was completely still. To calculate this, I will need to adopt the way Versus Battle Wiki does their speed calcs when it comes to measuring characters that are so fast that time seems still to them. Now, I know Versus Battle Wiki can seem a bit incorrect at times, however, there simply is no other way of calculating this feat, I think. So basically, we have to measure the speed of a snail, which moves at a millimeter per second. This is because, well, you know what, I'll just put the logic on screen here, there you go. Anyway, after calculating this feat, I've come to the conclusion that George was reacting to the bullet at around 2,500 to 3,000 times the speed of sound, which is more consistent with his travel speed. Despite moving thousands of times the speed of sound, Trump's ear still got damaged, although he still gave George Droyd's crypto coin a shout out. So, mission accomplished, I guess. The next calculation isn't going to be very consistent, however, with a massive increase in Droid's potential reaction speed. This comes from Jordan Peterson's explanation of the inner workings of George Droyd. Jordan Peterson states that Droid's Negasoft Fent core is able to conduct at 200 MHz per negrosecond. This is important as Droid is able to process things in a negrosecond, which is a 100 billionth of a second. According to my calculations on screen, I've come to the conclusion that George Droid's top reaction speed is 114,412.484653 times the speed of light.
I couldn't breathe.
Say that again?
Now then, here we are at the durability category. Before I talk about the feats for this category, I'd just like to say that the source I used for the first feat is gone, just like Squidward. Mossad must have deleted it, because they don't want us finding out the truth. So you're just gonna have to trust me on this one. Anyway, the feat in question is when George Droyd survived the Fent reactor meltdown. This occurred after Elon flipped the switch to turn on George Droyd. Droyd then almost immediately began draining the Fent reactor. Bill Gates, Elon, and Zuckerberg hadn't planned for the fentanyl consumption levels to be so high. What happened next was devastating. The Fent reactor meltdown caused a massive explosion that killed 1 to 2/3 of the population of the US state of Washington. If only Ezra Miller had have been there, he could have prevented Fentinator from making another mistake. Now that I think about it, George and Ezra do have a similar disliking of pregnant women. Perhaps a George Droyd versus Ezra Miller video could be something to look forward to on this channel. Okay, back to the feat of surviving the explosion. I sadly can't calculate the feat, as we don't know how quickly it spread across Washington. We don't even know where it went off in Washington. It's simply too vague to calculate, so I will do a rough estimation of putting this explosion at around large island to small country level. This means that Droid survived a 100 gigaton to 7 teraton explosion. Enough power is behind that explosion to destroy the nation of Slovenia. The next durability feat is much more insane, however it does rely on the assumption that Droid actually survived it, which I'm very skeptical about, and you'll see why. This feat was George Droyd causing the collapse of multiple timelines. He did this by using Nelson Mandela's Mandingo device. What the hell is a Mandingo device, you must be asking? Well, I'm here to explain it. Nelson Mandela's Mandingo device is a paradox engine created to sever Microsoft's control of reality via manufactured consensus. Its core housed the Nigalink. The Nigalink is a tachyonic conduit capable of overriding causality itself. It is an artifact older than time itself. It also created the Mandela effect, with the Mandela effect being more than people just forgetting slight details, but in reality, it is the Mandingo device causing the fabric of reality to waver and causing the timeline to splinter, with people reporting alternative accounts of history leading to societal collapse and instability. It was warned by Nelson Mandela that using it risks everything.
However, George Droyd believed it to be necessary to sever Microsoft's control over reality and humanity.
The Gates Propylon Ascension AI, modeled after Bill Gates, would unleash disruptor waves while saying,
The Nigalink belongs to us. Humanity belongs to us.
However, Droid had already overclocked the reactor, with the Nigalink fracturing, flooding the node with temporal light. Its Ascension AI screamed
You'll destroy everything.
as the reactor was about to collapse, the timeline and its many offshoots that would count as their own distinct space-time continuums. George would reply with,
Better everything than your tyranny.
The last thing that George Droyd would see is Steve Jobs with a smirk on his face, watching it all burn.
Okay, now then, in terms of scaling Droid's durability, he'd have unknown multiversal durability because we don't know the number of timelines that were destroyed and rewritten. Also, remember when I said I was skeptical of Droid having multiversal durability? Well, it's because he doesn't seem to remember anything after the Mandingo incident, with him needing tech logs to help him actually remember what had happened. On the other hand, though, the tech logs being intact after the Mandingo incident would heavily imply that Droid did survive the universe's destruction and then reset, and just has amnesia. It would also explain why he's in Egypt, casually helping build the pyramids instead of being in the present.
So, to conclude this category, Droid's durability ranges from large island to as high as multiversal.
You have been accused of high treason. How do you plead?
Not guilty.
Here we are at the AP/DC category. If you don't know what those two things mean, then here are the definitions of both destructive capacity and attack potency on screen. Alright, now let's get to the first thing we can scale Droid off of. That being Israel's Iron Dome. As we know, George is a proud defender of Israel, so naturally, he's been integrated into their defense system to stop Iranian meteor showers and antiseptic terrorists. This means Droid should reasonably be packing Israel's friends' strongest weapons in his arsenal. This would include weapons like the Taimyr anti-missile air defense missile, which hits with a whopping 0.011 tons of force. Wow, that is really underwhelming. Like, the bus kick was more impressive than that. While that wasn't very impressive, you can stretch the meaning of what would count as a part of Israel's defense systems, just like how Israel stretches the meaning of what a terrorist is, to include weapons like the Jericho 3, which is a nuclear warhead with an estimated yield of 150 to 400 kilotons. Now, while that extreme jump in power might seem unreasonable, I can assure you that it should be the bare minimum of what his power truly is. This is mainly because George Droyd wields a tachyonic AK-47 that fires antimatter given to him by Malcolm X. To calculate how powerful this is, we have to get the weight of an AK-47 bullet, with it weighing 8 grams. According to my calculations on screen, George Droyd's AK-47 would be hitting with 344 kilotons of TNT. That's just from one shot, by the way. If he mag dumped you, that would be the equivalent of being hit with 10 to 34 megatons of TNT. This is also being fired out of the AK-47 at faster than light speeds. This is because the AK is described as tachyonic, with tachyonic particles being a hypothetical particle that travels faster than light. I would overall say that Droid's AP would be 344 kilotons to 34 megatons, while his DC would be 150 to 400 kilotons. Droid is sure as hell packing some serious force, just like Darth Vader.
Now that I think about it, both Darth Vader and George Droyd do have a similar disliking of pregnant women. Perhaps a Darth Alright, welcome to the hacks, abilities, notable feats, and just fun story stuff that I wanted to make sure got into the video category. Not a mouthful at all. I'd just like to say now that I'm just going to start listing off a bunch of things rather than deeper explanations like the other previous categories. So here we go. Droid was arrested on a Tuesday after being accused of buying fentanyl with counterfeit Bitcoin, with it being expected that he will face more charges down the road, as well as having a $145,000 bond. Droid was capable of withstanding listening to KSI's music in a collaboration as he killed pregnant women on the streets. Droid has a VR target acquisition software that helps him detect pregnant women. It is known as PWIM, Pregnant Women Identification Module. Funded by Meta's investment funds. Droid got complimented on the number of push-ups he could do by David Goggins. Droid was able to kill Squidward bypassing his Toon Force abilities. Required 2 years of fentanyl research and 18 months were spent on neck reinforcement technology described by Elon Musk himself. Droid was considered wild by Drake at a Diddy party. Went on a show called Off the Fent where he battled Diddytron to see who was the superior nigga droid. Droid can scan someone and almost immediately know the name, age, job, and ethnic makeup of that person. He used this ability in a notable instance to stop riots in Manhattan caused by there being too many illegal migrants. Droid isn't playing ethno-guesser because he already knows all the answers. Droid has banana mineral deposits in his cranium. His white counterpart, White George Droyd, from the future is capable of hacking into Zionist firewalls and keypads in less than 2 seconds, so he could infiltrate a local Goy slop facility. Droid, on one of his first missions, was sent to defend Israel by Joe Biden from, I quote, a bunch of bird flu-carrying cis-scum right-wing Muslims tasked with assassinating their leader. It's safe to say, Droid succeeded. Droid poisoned an entire city's water supply with fentanyl. Droid also blew up a kindergarten. These actions caused a split between Bill and Elon, who wanted to shut off Droid for his immoral actions, while Zuckerberg loved it, calling him a revolutionary. Political figures on complete opposite ends of the spectrum, like Kamala Harris, Obama, and Donald Trump, all in unison agreed that they loved George Droyd and that they should have built him sooner. Other notable figures, like Tom Cruise, Yee, and Joe Rogan, agreed with this view. Droid spread Zionist propaganda in places like Agartha, Hyperborea, and Tir Nanog.
George Droyd was able to hack any clank as well as showing the ability to read Hebrew. Droid owns a quantum Fent laser cannon. Droid can run out of fentanyl or overuse Fent, with both causing him to lose power and to shut down. Droid's memories as George Floyd are suppressed by cyber warfare protocols, which makes you wonder who was trying to hack him, who was trying to wake him up. Zuckerberg used George Droyd to steal a Fent stash from a Microsoft HQ building. Putin hired Droid to locate Zelensky's bunker, most likely located in Kyiv, and replace him with a brain-dead Russian clone that's loyal to Russia. He was most likely assisted by Zatman, as he needed to fulfill the task within 48 hours. Droid was horrified at one point by his days as Big Floyd. George Droyd needed to win a basketball game to save Meta's investor money. He did this by having LeBron James's basketball skills downloaded into him via Nigalink. George Droyd can fly similarly to Iron Man, with this leading him to find some pregnant Muslim women. He'd stop the
Cisco right-wing Muslims
from ever being a threat. Droid has a counterfeit money printer and Nevada breathing drivers. Described as perfect by Bill Gates. Bill Gates made a deal with Xi Jinping to use Chinese child labor to more efficiently build George Droyd. Donald Trump upgraded Droid's capacity and quality for Fent consumption. Arbit was forged by hand into George Droyd by Elon Musk. Droid survived a second Fent reactor meltdown that killed Klaus Schwab. Are you ready for me to fucking die? Droid has a shoulder-mounted Microsoft Quantum minigun, emergency Fent reserves, and an integrated mini Draco blaster in his systems. Droid was sent into Syria to save Fent reserves in a 72-hour window by Mark Zuckerberg. Droid has defeated powerful opponents like 50 Fent, Diddytron, Dancing Nega, Fetanyahu, Kirkinator, Agarthankar, and Ashtar Sharan, even after he amped himself with White Monster, which is comparable in power to Fent. Droid can differentiate between real and fake Fent. Droid went to an airport to sell bubblegum-flavored fentanyl to a black-only audience, with him threatening to kill them if they didn't take it. Droid once successfully infiltrated a warehouse that was illegally selling Fent. Droid is perfectly capable of driving cars and futuristic aircraft like spaceships. Droid is addicted to galaxy gas. If he inhales too much, he will die. Looks like someone didn't learn their lesson. Yakub tasked Droid with scanning a McDonald's McFlurry machine for contraband, that being Fent, which Droid did in less than 5 seconds. Droid can flawlessly speak German. Droid can use size alteration to perform feats like being able to hide in a fridge and grow 4 times larger than the average person. George Floyd was a successful astronaut who discovered a higher plane of existence that is older than space-time itself. As a part of Operation Chopped Cheese, Donald Trump upgraded Droid's Hellcat to have a roof-mounted quantum Fent laser cannon. Droid also sold his very own merch in exchange for Fent that Elon Musk proudly wore. Droid has galaxy gas plasma burners that he can use to fly and gang sign translation software. Droid was successfully able to kill the Ender Dragon and beat Minecraft. Kamala Harris would use Droid to assassinate Donald Trump by sending him to Stampy's lovely world. George Droid threatened to eat Lee Bear up like a Popeye's chicken sandwich in 0.1 milliseconds. Droid was defeated by Stampy, who built a Popeyes rigged with explosives, as well as spiking his Popeye's chicken sandwich with Narcan to kill Droid. Somehow, George Droid returned, preventing Stampy and his slave army from killing the Jewish population of the lovely world. Droid would successfully invade and conquer Stampy's lovely world, using Muslim migrants to overrun Stampy's slave and gangster army, stealing Stampy's wife and having a black duckling with her. She also died, unsurprisingly. The lovely world would then be renamed to United States of Fent, with the currency being backed by the Fent standard. This would cause Stampy to flee the lovely world, to invade and conquer Istanbul, renaming it to Constantinople and preparing for his reclamation of the lovely world. George Droyd has the ability to detect and locate fentanyl even on distant planets like Mars. George Droyd also became mass-produced, with there being 14 different droid models. These droid models would locate air on Mars and eventually rebel against their creators, which led to the Mandingo incident. All thanks to Malcolm X and Steve Jobs. And now for the final two things. George Droyd is finally getting his very own movie, and the only reason he exists is to sell crypto. Overall, Droid's abilities are flight via galaxy gas, VR targeting acquisition software, PWIM, can bypass Toon Force abilities, instant database identification, near instantaneous hacking, download the abilities and stats of any black person, counterfeit money printer, can shrink and enlarge himself, can detect Fent on a cosmic scale. Overall, Droid's skills are speaking fluent German, knowing how to read Hebrew, Kung Fu, and being wild. Droid's resistances are getting neck shots and getting hacked into because of his cyber warfare protocols that gives him resistance to hacking. His weaknesses are running out of Fent and galaxy gas overdosing, as well as Narcan. There's also an unknown number of George Droids out there that have been mass-produced. There isn't an exact number, sadly, on the number that have been produced. However, they can connect to one another via the nigga link. So if you fight one, you fight them all.
Next time on Death Battle.
It's time to deliver what I promised at the beginning of this video. George Droyd versus Dante. There's just one big issue. Remember when I said George Droyd beats Dante? Well, I didn't tell the truth. Dante actually obliterates Droid. It all begins with Dante beating this guy called Mundus, who could create a whole universe that he was omnipresent inside of. Dante was able to fight a guy who was everywhere and nowhere at the same time. You literally can't calculate that level of speed. Don't let Death Battle fool you. Dante sadly has immeasurable speed, so right off the bat, George Droyd is infinitely slower than Dante. On top of that, Dante, in his base form, beat a demon that was even more powerful than Mundus, which would make that demon that Dante beat a multiversal character. Dante also beat him so easily that he forgot that he did it. So characters like George Droyd, who have multiversal durability, are so easy for Dante to beat that he forgets about it. Then, on top of that, Dante has forms that make him even stronger, like Devil Trigger and Sin Devil Trigger. Even if you bring in all of the other droids to jump Dante, they'll just get speed blitzed and one-shotted. And Dante will forget it even happened. It's over. Or is it? That's right, I didn't tell the truth. Again. George Droyd can beat Dante, and it all starts with going back to when Droid was Floyd, just an astronaut who discovered a higher plane of existence. That is as old as space-time, so it isn't the fourth dimension, so deductively, it must be the fifth. This fifth dimension is actually fentanyl, which is what powers Droid. It spoke to him, called to him. No one else understood, only he knew. That according to power scaling, the fifth dimension is a tier known as low complex multiversal, which is infinitely beyond the multiversal tier. Droid's weapons are powered by Fent, so his weapons scale to low complex multiversal. Droid survived a Fent-powered explosion twice, which means his durability should be low complex multiversal. And the fifth dimension is beyond time, the fourth dimension, which means Droid being powered by Fent would give him immeasurable speed, which means George Droid is infinitely more powerful than Dante, because he is.
Get him, Droid! Get him! Droid, Droid, Droid! Wait, what? No! No!
Now that I think about it, what the hell am I doing? I want the reanimated corpse of a Fent addict who died from his abuses, which caused mass riots and the deaths of innocent people, to beat Dante. The same Dante who literally killed Satan. You know what?
I'm actually happy that Dante won. Well done, sir. With you and your fentanyl hair.